Thank you, Your Worship. So this is the Capital Endowment Fund, and I'll allow Russell to work you through that as well.
Okay, so if the question was asked, what are the funds available and what's the split over the years and what's coming out of the fund. So it's essentially that's what's saying in there. And you see over the years, so we've got current year, we expect the amount available to be just under $3 million, and by the end of 27-28, slightly higher than $3 million. So, yeah.
So that's it. Yes.
Well, that's pretty much it. I mean, we can give more detail if there's any question.
Sarah, then Tim.
Yeah, I'd like to propose that that we do an additional 3 years of the Screen Grant Fund, but from the Capital Endowment Fund. And the original was 1.5 million over 3 years, so we could do 500 a year from the Capital Endowment Fund, and there is funding there for that. And that way, we don't find out, something else that gets cut where everyone comes to us and going, oh, CNZ have cut our funding, just like the Screen Grant people did.
Nice.
Because other groups won't have had the opportunity because they wouldn't have known there was a cut. So
yeah, that's good. This is a classic example here where you see Christchurch NZ on top of their 14.8 or 15 mil that they get. They also get another $1.5 million every year for these sort of things. And that's where the $500,000 a year for the Screen Grant should come out of, because it's extra funding that they get on top of what they get already. So it's on and on and on. So where do we stop? John, please.
Could I just remind councillors that in the hearings process, the Youth Hub was directed to the Capital Endowment Fund. They've made an application for between $2 and $2.4 million, which is actively being considered and assessed by staff at the moment and will be reported back to council in July. Additionally, we know from Ferrymead Park that they will also be considering an application to the 25-26 and 26-27 Capital Endowment Fund. So there are a couple of provisional commitments that council need to be aware of before committing any further.
Yeah, coming up the pipe. Yep. Okay. Tim and then Sarah.
I realise that inflation protection, currently the Capital Endowment Fund isn't inflation protected. So it says here in your paper that even with a 2% protection, would be very little available. So I'm just wondering, because personally I think it's more important to inflation protect the fund, because if we keep clipping into it, we've just heard there's going to be a queue of people that maybe that we agree to what's here in front of us, but what would be the figure available if we inflation protected it, even as suggested in the paper, 2%?
I support that.
Because we're here for a short period of time. The city's here for a long period of time, and we've got to have that vision. And that's what's really concerning me around this.
If we don't inflation protect it, we're eroding it.
Yeah. John.
Thank you, Councillor Scandrett. We sent some figures out to all councillors on the 10th of May, plotting a number of scenarios. If you like, I can have a look at that and send that information out again shortly.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm not expecting any answers today because I should have sent these through.
We've got some here.
Yes, it was, and it was calculated by our esteemed financial services people. Yeah.
Some of it's up there, so do you want to start walking through it, Pete?
Sarah, please.
yeah, I think I agree about inflation protecting, but I also see, if you look back at the other slide with the amounts on it, then there actually is enough still there for the Screen Grant Fund and for the Youth Hub, because all of these things will be over a period of years. They're not a big lump sum, and potentially for Ferrymead if we decided to go that way. And I quite like the idea of spending the Capital Endowment Fund on core things that are metropolitan in focus and that have a large impact across the community, rather than smaller geographic things that we've traditionally done in
Put
the
up as
past.
an amendment? Yeah, okay. Just a question, chaps. This, up the top left there, 5.245 million, right?
Yes.
That's the interest. We're only spending interest here, or is that what's left in it totally?
Quite, Your Worship. Most of it is interest.
Yes.
On the fund. So the fund has around just over $100 million in it.
Yes.
And so the interest that's allocated is, it's a 5% or just under, near enough to $5 million. So what you've got, and I'm from up there, and I'll allow John Filsell to correct me, but I think it's unspent money from the current year would add to that interest component, John.
No?
Essentially, Bede's right. The available funding is the proceeds of the interest plus any carry forwards from the previous year.
So we're not ripping into our principal. So to
No,
speak.
you're not.
Thank you.
Just through you, Mr. Mayor. So if we looked at inflating it, or inflating, adjusting it, or accounting for inflation, as Bede has outlined, that'd be about $2 million a year. So what that would say is the amount that's available down the bottom, the 2.971 in the 24-25, we'd take that 2 million out. Okay, so that would just leave you the $1 million available to then distribute.
But also, we're far better off this year and last year than we were a number of years ago when we were getting sod all interest on it. We must be a lot better off now than we were.
I'm not sure of the history, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
John, maybe.
That wasn't a very
Yes,
good question.
you are.
Right. Carry on, please.
Okay, thank you. So, so reading ahead, so we've discussed inflation predicting it. The next item, I guess, is the split. So there was, an agreed split between innovation, economic development, environment, and civic and community split. So currently it's 60%, 40% split. Look, staff are just seeking clarification that that's to what their recommendation is that remains. Yep.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Okay. That's fine.
Everyone?
Good as gold.
Yep.
Thank
Carry
you.
on.
That's a guide and a policy, not a strict rule, perhaps. How rigid is it?
It's a council resolution, but the categories are broad, and the council resolution was designed to allow the council flexibility.
Okay, thank you. That's an
Thank you,
excellent
John.
answer.
That's good.
Just as a heads up, I'll be putting in the only amendment I think I'll be putting in is to inflation protect the Capital Endowment Fund.
Okay. Okay. Yep. Righto. Yanni, sorry, didn't see that.
I mean, there's a number of other things, like we've got no single project to be funded for more than 3 years, except in exceptional circumstances. But we see like Christchurch and just repeatedly getting a line item funding. Have you looked at the rest of the criteria around how it's been distributed and what the policy is in terms of consistency?
That's a great question. Thank you. And I'll pass it over to John.
Yes, we can provide that, and we'll probably send that and circulate that back to councillors. Councillors are refreshed on the fund, its background, and the criteria whenever they consider a application, and so we can certainly provide that information back.
Okay, just for people out there, John, in TV land, the 100 million was from when we sold some shares of Orion or something, a dividend of Orion or something, was it?
Yeah, it was the I call it the municipal gas company. Yeah, so it's the proceeds from that.
Yeah.
And they've been invested.
And
it's the proceeds of the
and
investment.
That's why we've got the luxury of this today.
Yes, it is.
Thank you. Okie doke.
Just a point. So the issue through you, Your Worship, that Councillor Johansson has raised, we did give that some consideration, and it almost becomes like you're splitting hairs because the resolution does say for not more than 3 years. And the question, I suppose, is while you're giving it to CNZ, it's for different projects inside CNZ every year, if you like. So, but is it going to? It's not going to a project. It's going to an entity. So it becomes a little bit of a splitting hairs exercise as to what was intended really. And I think that's a decision for council when it decides as to how it wants to treat that.
And also the number at the bottom when it says current available 2.9. Excuse me.
Yes.
Yeah, that in theory will get quietly whittled away one way or another for the next year for other things that will quietly come through the door. No.
Well, correct. I think John again is probably best to answer that, but that's right. That's what my understanding is that fund has been used for.
Yeah, applications will be brought to the council for their consideration. So yes, it will be.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Pauline. Yeah.
So that number, 2.9, if we inflation proofed it, that would just be 0.9 roundabout.
Correct.
So Tim, did you? So if that 2.9 balance would just become 900,000 left if we inflation proofed
Yeah,
it.
and if we don't do it now, and in 10 years or 15 years, when there are some other people around this table, they'll be looking at a
Yeah,
capital
I
endowment
know
fund that
that.
has
I know
less.
that.
So,
I'm just
yeah.
pointing it
We-
out. But you could start it.
Did staff say
Sooner
there
or
was
later,
some-
we've got to tighten the belt. And if others like Rata are changing their attitude and without telling their partners that running the city, then we can't be the last cab off the block. We've got to think about the future of the city and those that will be coming to us or this council in 20 years and in 10 years and in 15 years. If we don't start looking at the future, the real future, what are we doing here?
Just let me throw this at you, Bede. We're getting roughly about 5% on this, would you say? Yeah, we do,
Yes,
but it's
correct.
yes,
Yeah, it
yes,
is.
I know.
Yes, yes, we are.
Yeah. The return we get off our money from Orion, I believe, is around 3%. So one would ask, are we better off to sell some shares in Orion and put the money we get for it into here because we'll get a better return and then we've got a bigger lot of money? And I'm just throwing it out there.
Think about equity.
Open that can, William.
Thank you very much. I just thought I'd get
Yeah, thank you.
Don't have to answer that.
Orion's value grows each year.
Nice try.
And this one flat
However,
line.
several years ago, we were getting a lot less, just saying.
That's saying that if you interest different years, if you interest protect available balance at 4.2%,
sorry,
you
Samuel.
actually get a negative.
Samuel, how are you?
You wouldn't.
Yeah, I was good until that question. I just want to understand if Tim's putting up an amendment to inflation protect the fund, it'll be a lot more than $2 million. So we just need to be really clear on that because, unless I've missed it, inflation's well over 2%.
The paper that's in front of us says even at 2%, I'd be happy to put it at 2% because it does have to be a working fund, but we do need to protect it for the future. So,
Yeah, so it would be good when we get the advice back on that to understand why. Obviously that's a decision councils well before like my time and Jake's time and that have made around that. But I'm just conscious that we've already told a group to go to that fund this year, so we avoid rate funding a contribution to the youth hub. So we just need to be really clear that we're not leading people down the wrong path.
yeah, just remember, it's a council of 17 people, so we haven't all agreed to that. It's just been asked to do it. So,
Okay. Sorry, I've got head Sam. Celeste, you've got your hand up, but you haven't got your camera on. But I need to see you on the screen, otherwise I won't be asking you.
Yeah, sorry, I had surgery, so I said that. I couldn't go on screen.
Really? Sorry, I didn't know that.
So should I just go ahead?
Yeah, far away.
I'm just curious to know, with regards to the Capital Endowment Fund, are we able to see some of the funding that was granted 3 years funding and is coming to end? So 23, 24, because we don't have visibility of some of those funds that are wrapping up. So I'm looking at the environmental partnership funds listed, but we don't have the community partnership fund, which ended last year.
Community Waterways Partnership Fund, are you talking about?
No, that's a different one.
Oh, the one from the east.
Carry on, Bede.
Yeah, so that through you, Your Worship, Councillor Donovan's correct. And if you look in the the draft LTP has that there, and so there was 350,000, and I don't know how far it goes back, but 350,000 was given to the Environmental Climate Change Partnership, and a similar amount to the Community Partnership. 350 each last year, or sorry, in the current year, has been given from
Yeah.
the fund.
And there were some additional funds in there that also aren't showing. So I guess the question would be, because there's a split here, so we're looking to get a split across a few different areas, economic, environment, community focused. But if we're putting in new requests, but we're not looking at some of those requests that are, or previous funds that are ending, they're supporting projects that still have a need, much like funding going to other groups. So I'm just concerned that we're putting in a whole bunch of new requests for whatever it is, the Screen Society and so forth, and we don't see the full picture of what's coming to an end, the requests coming in, and then if we do inflation cap it, then actually we're not sure what we'll lose out as well. So I'd just like a bit more information about what's come before and what's coming in.
So John touched on that a bit earlier, Celeste, but do you want to add anything now? Do you want to get something out in email to people?
I think it's easier to get something out in email, Chief Executive.
Email would be good, actually, just so everyone can see that, because we'd sort of need to know what some of these other requests are, like the Ferrymead Park. You just can't see that stuff listed there as a potential request coming in.
Okay. Righto, Tyrone.
Sorry if I missed this, but remind me why the Capital Endowment Fund's not actively managed? I mean, it's $100 million. Like, wouldn't a fund manager be managing it? No. No? Right. Okay.
Don't go.
Well, that's actually a very different conversation. But
So
anyway,
we can potentially have a conversation about it.
Okay, Mary's.
We can potentially at some other date give you an update about Capital Endowment Fund and
How it works.
Yeah.
Sarah, please. All good? Yanni.
Just quickly, I think John made reference to some advice that had previously been given. So yeah, it'd be really good just to get, if the advice could all be collated and just sent around again, that would be helpful. Sorry, it's just a mirage of a lot of documents that we've got on the hub, so it's quite tricky to find. But
beautiful.
Will that show the different split between the categories as well in terms of funding to date, or over the past 3 years?
We don't want to go backwards, do we?
No, we have to reassess the criteria, right? That's part of what the staff have asked. I was just interested to know if we had any sort of information about the balance of economic environment versus the civic and community.
The more information, the more detailed information, the further back councillors want us to go, will result in a greater length of time in getting the information to you. We'll certainly do our best to get the current accurate information in a timeline that will allow councillors to take it into consideration.
Cheers.
Thank you. Right, carry on, gents.
Right, thank you, Your Worship. So this is the Arts Centre, and as